Welcome to another episode of The Artsy Raven, a show about writing and publishing with your host, J.F. Garrard.
Welcome to another episode of the Artsy Raven. Today our special guest is Katie Bernet. So Katie lives in Dallas, Texas, and as one of three sisters, she's a diehard fan of Little Women. Beth Is Dead is her debut novel. So welcome, Katie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you started writing?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Like you said, I'm Katie Bernet. I live in Dallas. I've lived here almost my entire life, and I've been writing seriously for about 11 years. Before that, I was a dancer growing up, and I kind of realized at some point that my favorite part about dance was the storytelling aspect, and so I moved into writing stories and took me quite a while to break in and get published. So I had a really interesting journey, but finally did with Beth Is Dead, and it's been really exciting.
Okay, so tell us like a bit about your background. So you're a dancer, and then
Yeah.
were you writing along the way while you were dancing, or?
I was. It's funny. I can kind of remember this was like in high school probably, but I can kind of remember this moment where I realized that I really loved writing. I was in a dance class and the dance teacher asked us to do sort of an exploratory writing about the character that we were going to be portraying in the dance. And I stayed up all night doing that. Like I was so excited about it. And I think that's when that light bulb went on for me, like, oh, you know what? This is actually my favorite part about this art form is the storytelling. And that prompted me to continue writing more. And then I spent about 11 years working in advertising. I was a copywriter and creative director in advertising. So I got to tell stories in my professional life, which was really fun. But, in the back of my mind, as I was going through that, I was like, okay, I really just want to be an author. That's the goal. So yeah.
Yeah, I had something similar. I like painting a lot. But painting is like one static moment. Like in a way, you have to do
Yeah,
lots of paintings to tell a story. It's kind of faster to just write it down.
that's true. Yeah.
Okay, now you're one of three sisters, just like the March girls. So did you draw from your personal life? Like, was that how you got some ideas for the book?
Totally. Yeah, it's funny. My sisters and I actually lived together while I was writing Beth Is Dead. And so like we're all in our adulthood, 20s and 30s, and we happened to live together in a house for about a year. And so they were right in front of my face the whole time that I was writing that book, which was great. Yeah, so I definitely drew a lot from our personal experience growing up. Fights that we'd had or like just that incredible unconditional love. Like that was something that I really drew from writing the March Sisters. I feel like I can relate to the March Sisters quite a bit.
Okay, now what's your earliest memory of reading or watching Little Women? And
Oh,
yeah, and how did it sort of morph into this book idea?
yeah, so this is a funny story because my first memory of Little Women, I was actually at a sleepover party at a friend's house, and I was probably in like first or second grade. And she had a really cool older sister, and her older sister was watching TV in the living room and she was bawling. And I walked in and I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And she said, Beth just died. She was watching Little Women and she kind of just dropped that spoiler bomb. So my first memory of Little Women before I'd ever watched the movie, read the book, anything, was learning that Beth was going to die. And so, yeah, got that like spoiler right off the bat. Um, so I don't know. I mean, that isn't exactly how I came up with the idea for the story, but I definitely think that that was like in my subconscious, just knowing that from the beginning. I read the book in high school for the first time, and I kind of was prepared for the heartbreak. Like I knew that, from that moment of my friend's older sister just bawling in front of the TV, I knew it was going to be a heartbreak at the end. So I think I was always interested in Beth's death. And yeah, and then eventually, I kind of had this idea to turn Little Women into a mystery called Beth Is Dead, and yeah, got to really explore Beth's death quite a bit.
Are you like a fan of true crime or anything like that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. I
Okay.
love cereal. I love cereal so much.
Okay, now what was the biggest challenge writing this book, do you think?
There were a few. I think one of the biggest challenges was modernizing the March Sisters. I knew that I wanted to have the story take place in modern times, and they're such iconic characters. So I had to kind of think about how would they change or stay the same in a modern context. So that was interesting, but also really fun. And then I wrote the story with four POVs and two timelines. So that was a bit of a challenge, just trying to keep everything straight. I actually outlined in Excel, like I did a spreadsheet because there kind of wasn't any other way. Um, yeah, and then just balancing, since Beth is killed and found out in chapter one, it was difficult to balance the grief with moments of lightness or brightness or the fun sort of pacey intrigue of like discovering a mystery and figuring out the clues. I wanted to make sure that that still felt fun and compelling, but had to balance the grief of losing a sister, which is unimaginable. So
Okay. Now each sister has secrets and motives. Like, did you find it hard to maintain the suspense, like as you're writing?
yeah, I mean, it's super interesting, especially because the March sisters are so interconnected. They know each other so well. It was hard to keep secrets as I went. It's like, oh, I feel like they know everything about each other. How do I make sure that they've concealed just enough to keep a mystery from each other, even like to keep each other guessing? So yeah, it was hard, but it was fun. This was my actually first time writing a mystery. I had written a few other manuscripts that weren't mysteries, and this was my first mystery, and I just loved it. Like I think I'll write a bunch more because I had so much. Yeah.
Okay. So your book explores like sisterhood, fame, ambition, and betrayal. Now, which
Mhm.
of these themes do you think resonated the most with you when writing?
Oh man. That's a really hard question to answer because I feel like they're all so important to the original novel and to the retelling, any retelling that I've read. But I think sisterhood, because I think it kind of maybe encompasses all three of those things. Sisters have this incredible bond that uh, you can quite literally accuse each other of murder 1 second and then turn around and support each other and understand each other and have empathy for each other. So I think sisterhood was the glue and the backbone of the book. And within their bond, you have the ambition, you have the betrayal, you have kind of all those other things wrapped up in sisterhood.
Okay. Now, for other fans of Little Women, what do you hope fans would take away from your book? It's a little bit darker.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit darker. I think I kind of hope that people come away with a new understanding of Beth. I know I did. I kind of started writing the book with like a grievance. I kind of felt like I was always frustrated with Beth. I thought she was too passive or she was so soft, gentle. But as I wrote this story, I feel like I came to understand her a little bit better and I felt like you know what? She's actually maybe the bravest of all four of the March sisters. She's facing something awful in the original. She knows she's going to die from, scarlet fever, and she remains calm. She doesn't take it out on other people. She's still kind and loving, and I think actually that's a really hard thing to do. So I walked away with a new understanding of Beth, and I hope other people will as well.
Oh, are you gonna write another book with the Marsh sisters, or are you gonna do something else, like a new project?
I'm doing something else, but it is going to be another retelling of a classic as a mystery.
Okay.
So kind of the same, little hook there, but not the March Sisters.
Okay. Now, after you finish, like, how long did it take you to write the book?
Let's see, start to finish, probably about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2 years. Um, it was kind of a long process. I did a ton of different drafts, but I feel like about a year and a half in, it was like, okay, this is starting to really click. Took a
And
while.
then what did you do to find a publisher? Like, did you pitch it in a pitch war or something, or write to people?
Yeah, so I had been attempting publication for many, many years. So I had an agent, and worked with her. But in order to even get to that point, I'm a member of a writer's workshop here in Dallas. We meet actually every Wednesday night and we do like a read and critique, which is really cool. But I learned in that group all the basics of traditional publication. Like, how do you write a query letter? How do you secure an agent? How does your agent pitch your work to publishers? Like all of that I was able to learn in that group. So I sort of just followed that path of, querying agent, pitching to publishers, that sort of thing.
Cool. Like, for people that are new to writing and they don't know what to start, do you have any advice to give them?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that was the game changer for me was finding a writing community. Before that, it was just me and Google, and like you can only get so far that way. But finding people who are published or on that journey really, really changed it all for me because I was able to get advice. I was able to, have people read my query letter and tell me whether or not they thought it was going to work, things like that. So I think writing community is absolute number one. That'll help you get through the door.
Hi, Katie. You're going to do a reading for us. Can you give us a bit of context of what you're reading, and then you can start read?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to read chapter one. So not much context needed. This is from Beth Is Dead, and I'm actually reading from the ARC. So here goes. On the first morning of a new year, Beth is not in her bed. From the hallway, I peer into her room and my heart moves to my throat. Sunlight falls on her pillow, dust suspended in the air. Beth should be here, tucked under her quilt, chest rising and falling, but there's only a dent in her mattress. I stand on tiptoe and sigh a little breath of relief. Amy's not here either, the top bunk unmade, blankets in a heap. She's younger than Beth by about 2 years and 10,000 brain cells, but I feel better knowing they're together. This isn't the first time Amy spent the entire night at Sally Gardner's annual New Year's Eve party. Last year, she passed out in Sally's clawfoot tub. Wouldn't it be nice to have a clawfoot tub? Until Mom showed up the next morning and dragged her to the car. Embarrassing, to say the least. It's hard to believe she'd do it again after the way Mom worried, but that's Amy. I text her, and her alone, because I know this isn't Beth's fault. Where are you? 3 dots appear, but after a second of rippling, they stop. I swear, if Mom wakes up to these empty bunks, I'll wrestle Amy to the ground. Mom doesn't deserve that kind of stress, especially not after a New Year's Eve night shift at the hospital, stomachs pumped, fingers blown off by misfired fireworks. I text Amy again. If you're not home before Mom's up, dot, dot, dot. I leave it at that, an open threat, and return to my room to keep working on a manuscript. I meant to stay up all night, but I've been crashing lately, snoring on my desk when I can't keep my eyes open any longer. I don't believe in writer's block. My creativity is a constant, unstoppable force, but right now, it's moving like wet concrete. I open my notebook to the page that acted as my pillow last night. It's smudged, but I can still make out the last of my thoughts. I need a better idea, something good enough to convince my editor that she didn't make a mistake by offering me a book deal. I rev myself up to start working again when the back staircase creaks. At once, I jump up from my desk, a rush of relief. Okay, next time you two want to pull an all-nighter, maybe you can shoot me a... Amy stares back at me, hunched and alone. At 15, she's still flat-chested and skinny, with blonde hair cut to her shoulders and streaked pink. Keep it down, she whispers. Where's... Seriously, shut up. Mom's door is wide open. She eases up the final step and sheds her coat, revealing the skin-tight dress she wore last night. As she enters the bunk room, she furrows her brow. Where's Beth? I cross the hallway, a bite in my voice. You tell me. Amy looks stunned, slow to process. She's not home? Does it look like she's home? Shit, she exhales. Mom's gonna kill me. I picture our doe-eyed sister alone at Sally's party, passed out on one of the gardener's leather couches, too drunk to drive or even walk home. You're worried about Mom? What about Beth? Amy whips out her phone to call our sister, but it goes straight to voicemail. I'll try Sally. She was with Beth when I left last night. Last night? You left last night? Amy grips her phone between her shoulder and her ear so she can search a pile of clothes that is gathered on the floor. I duck to interrupt. Where the hell did you go? I stayed with... She pauses, and I can't tell if she's listening to Sally's voicemail message or searching for an answer. Florence. Yeah, I stayed with Florence. I look at her sideways. Amy and our cousin Florence are a matching set. Both of them blonde, attached at the hip, but if they'd left the party together, they would have crashed here. Florence lives in a house with rules. Not the kind of rules that Mom enforces, be thoughtful, clean up after yourself, but the tight-fisted kind that make you want to break things. Strict curfew, no makeup, no dating until college. You went to Aunt Mary's after midnight? We sneaked in, says Amy, but her cheeks flush pink. And you left Beth alone? She finds a hoodie, tugs it over her head. She's my big sister. I'm not her babysitter. She doesn't party like you do. What's that supposed to mean? Amy knows good and well what it means. Beth doesn't take stupid risks the way she does, doesn't ruin things the way she does. Beth wouldn't stay out all night unless something happened, especially now. In just a few short days, she leaves for boarding school, and she has a million things to do before we send her off. Come on, I say. Let's go find her. No, Amy beats me to my keys, holds them behind her back. We'll wake Mom. She's not wrong. My army green Jeep has an old, grimy engine that sometimes takes 3, 4 rattling tries to get going. You expect me to walk? I ask. The gardener's house isn't that far. I glance back at my writing, a mess of half-baked ideas. This excursion will waste 20 minutes at the very least, but I'm the oldest sister now. That's what Meg said when she went to college. Distractions come with the territory. Fine, I huff, but we're taking the shortcut. Amy hates taking the shortcut from our neighborhood to Sally's, up a steep bridge and through the park. I think it reminds her of Dad, who's been away for 6 months and 13 days, not that anyone's counting. When we were little, he'd take us to the park to stargaze, and I'll admit, it hurts to remember those moments, but the park's our quickest shortcut by at least a mile. Amy storms ahead of me, leads me into the cold. When the wind blows, she tightens her arms across her chest, but her teeth chatter like her body's too exhausted to keep warm, like she didn't rest at all last night. As we trudge toward the end of the block, Laurie's house looms overhead. He's the only kid in town who lives in a modern home instead of an old colonial, the result of his grandparents having just enough money and influence to sway the historical society into allowing her to build new. His room looks dark, and I figure he must be sleeping. He and I have forgone Sally's party since we met there freshman year, because both of us hate that sort of thing. But he usually stays up well past midnight, toasting champagne with his grandmother. She's the best company, he always says. Out of nowhere, Amy stops, and we collide. My voice comes out on a forced exhale. What are you, Joe? She gazes into the distance, squatting for a better view up the street. What is that? I shove past her, less than amused. I know you hate the shortcut, but this is getting a little... Joe, wait. She tugs my coat hard and stares at the hill next to Laurie's house, a steep luge of rocks and tree roots. I thought I saw... Without warning, she charges ahead, tearing through brush and snow. Amy, I yell, but she keeps going, forging up the hill beside the bridge. Amy, stop. She ventures into the trees, takes an uncharted path up the steepest rocks. You're going to fall, I say. She stops at the base of an old gnarly tree, and her phone slips from her hand, her knees bending ever so slightly as if the earth is shifting beneath her. I draw a shaky breath. Come down from there. But just then, she lets out a sound that I'll never forget as long as I live. Her voice breaks from her chest, brittle and crumbling. Beth? That single syllable echoes down the street, and all other sound falls away. Snow clings to the air for a moment, unmoving. Amy screams, Joe! She grips her knees, shuddering. Joe! Without a thought, I run. And unlike Amy, I don't stop, only slow. The sight at the base of the tree is so unimaginable that I'm pulled toward it. At first, it's like a poem that doesn't make sense until you've read it a few times. Beth is lying in the snow, and the snow is red. And the red isn't just pooled around her, but seeping from her. And her eyes are open, but behind them, she is gone. That's it.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
The Artsy Raven is produced by Dark Helix Press. Introduction voiceover by Chris Gorman. Music by Tim Moore. Please access your bonus content on the Patreon website. Thank you very much for listening, and please stay safe.